I am a
engineer. Hey guys, my name's DocJade, and welcome to episode 7 of Krastorio. Today's the day we start building a new bus. We need to decide how many lanes of copper and iron we'll want. I picked 6 lanes of each, purely because it divides evenly between the substations. This lake is kinda in the way, so we should probably start the bus a bit further back. Before we set up iron or copper production, let's make some concrete. I was using my upgrade planner on the miners, and it turns out there's a second tier of substation. Oh well, too late. Now, let's mine the iron for the concrete. Okay, time to smelt the stone into bricks. So, I never researched electric furnaces. Luckily, it doesn't look too expensive, and I should have enough science laying around in storage to research it. I think it's safe to say we've got enough. Cool, let's tear down the labs and start making some furnaces. With those being slowly produced, I'll whip up a silly design for brick production and hook it up. Now we can set up the actual concrete production. This setup works just fine, but it's kinda boring. Let's try something else. Recently, I've been having a lot of fun with these tiny tileable designs, and thus I redesigned the concrete production. With enough concrete production to pave a small city every 12 minutes, let's start working on iron smelting. 6 lanes sure is a daunting task, but since we don't need the full capacity immediately, let's just work on 1 lane for now. Although I will test to make sure we can fit all the smelters here, and they do fit, so we're good. For now, I only need a little bit of iron, so let's skip ore washing temporarily. We ran out of substations and roboports again, and unfortunately we can't really expand without them. Time to make some more, but I'm out of copper wire, so time to make copper wire, but now I'm out of red circuits, so time to make red circuits, but now I'm out of steel, so time to make steel, but now I'm out of red circuits again, so it's time to make more red circuits, but now I'm out of copper wire again, so time to make copper wire, but now I'm out of steel, so time to make steel. The iron smelter is up and running, we're slowly filling the belts. I forgot to deconstruct the smelting arrays that we didn't need, so time to do the obvious. But I'm out of copper plates, so time to deconstruct everything and make copper plates. Building at this massive scale is kind of intimidating, not gonna lie. Oh, also keep in mind there's no way I could possibly feed all of these smelters with these little patches of ore nearby, so I'll definitely need to bring in the ore with trains later. And there we go, we're making copper. Not very much in the grand scheme of things, but at least we're making some. Now it's time to set up ore washing. Washing the ores in the chemical plants is actually quite fast. You only need 16 plants per belt. We need sulfuric acid to wash the ores, so let's go set oil back up. Even bigger tank this time. After piping it around, let's set everything up over by this coal patch for easy plastic production. Continuing with the theme of just guessing production amounts, I'll build enough plastic for 2 red belts. That's a lot of refineries. Let's get cracking on cracking. We'll crack the heavy oil down into light oil, then re-crack the cracked oil into petroleum. 32 chemical plants and some coal later, we're almost done setting it up. After hooking up oil and water, it turns out I built most of the refineries out of alignment. After rebuilding the refineries and running some more pipes, we've got plastic. Iron, copper, and plastic. What's next? Wood. It still feels strange putting wood on the bus, but 2 lanes should do the trick. I have no idea what I'm doing here. Instead of just mixing the belts earlier, I decided to balance each individual belt and then stick it into a 6-to-2 balancer. This is stupid. Oh well, it's basically done. I just need to wait for all the greenhouses to be built. Imaginary wood is now on the bus. Oh yeah, ore washing. Should probably finish that. A bunch more oil refineries and chemical plants later, we can set up sulfur and then sulfuric acid. But I need iron plates for the acid, and we don't have any belts to get it over here, so let's set up belt production. A couple wacky designs later, we've got belts. Let's finish the ore washing setups for copper and iron before we plug in the sulfuric acid. After connecting everything up and hand feeding a few iron plates to test it, we're washing the ore. I'll swap the recipes around and we've got plates again. Slight problem, dirty water is backing up, but we can just burn it off for now. Now we can get started on steel production. Let's make some room. I'm aiming to make 2 belts of steel, so this will be yet another huge setup. Time for coke. Thankfully, its production isn't too complicated, so we can just produce it locally instead of smuggling it in from other countries. Let's steal coal from plastic production, split it, and then grab wood off the bus. Don't forget to set the recipes. Oh, speaking of wood, we still don't have any. And speaking of not having any, iron production has stopped. Looks like we somehow disconnected our oil supply. I'll hook it back up and then finish a line of coke's wood. With the wood starting to trickle in, coke is done. And while we wait for the CIA to send me a check in the mail, let's hook up the iron plates. While belting the plates around, power died. We ran out of nuclear fuel cells. That's fine, we've got a decent amount of processed uranium in storage. I'll just throw down an assembler. It takes a minute, but we've got power back. A few substations later, and we've got steel. I'll chuck it in a chest for now. We're out of base supplies again. Time for another bot mall. Except this is ugly. Let's make it look prettier. That's better. I'll finish up steel, and luckily I noticed that I forgot an inserter. After placing the rest of the chemical plants for ore washing, we're output limited. I'll move the input belt to the middle. And now we're input limited. A second belt should do the trick. There we go, full belt of output. Now I'll rebuild the copper side. There we go. I needed more substations, and for some reason I thought it was a good idea to just deconstruct these ones. Let's see how long it takes me to realize that oil's been disconnected. I'll put steel on the bus, then we can fix that dumb wood splitter. It's time for some green circuits. Let's make 4 belts of them. I was originally going to use this side split design, but it looked extra dumb. I'll go with something a bit more traditional. I'm not sure how many times I'll have to tile this build vertically, and I'm worried about running into the lake. So let's make some landfill. Yeah, not much to see here. I happened to pass the nuclear setup, and it looks like we're out of fuel again. We ran out of 238, but we've got a decent amount of uranium ore chilling in storage, so we can put off the mining for a bit longer. Back up and running. It's green circuit time, and wouldn't you believe it, the assemblers fit perfectly. Each one of these towers makes 2 belts of green circuits. This looks super silly, but hey, it works. Time to plug it all in. Oh shoot, I forgot to switch every other inserter to fill both sides of the belt. I'll fix that. There we go. Now I'll bring all 4 belts down to the bus, and we're done. Now let's do red circuits. Yeah, we don't have any stone on the bus. I'll mine some, and then we can just squeeze it into the middle of the bus. Okay, now we can crush it all into sand. Yeah, that's a lot of sand. And now we get to make a bunch of quartz. Like, a lot of quartz. 2 belts of quartz. And we'll turn that 2 belts of quartz into 1 belt of silicon. Then the other 8 crushers worth of sand will be smelted into glass. After running a belt of plastic over here, we've got everything we need for electronic components, so let's whip them together. 3 belts go in, 1 belt comes out. There's the oil pipe. Took long enough. After expanding the bus a bit more, we can start working on the circuits. I built this way too long. We wouldn't have been able to feed the whole thing, so let's split it into 4 parts. Then I'll design this ridiculous distribution head, paste it, modify it, and start hooking up all the resources. Done! Now we just need to wait for the bots to place all the belts. The biters actually managed to damage this part of the wall, so I'll just use the upgraded blueprint here. And there's our first red circuits. Would you look at that? We're out of uranium ore. Glad I caught it early this time. Luckily, the uranium outpost is a sovereign state, so we can just renegotiate trade agreements with it. The real problem is figuring out where to put the rails. I'll route it directly over green circuits so we can unload next to the centrifuges. I can place the rails here, but I can't make it a tile longer until I place the previous rail. Literally unplayable. After doing a loop-de-loop around the uranium centrifuges, I'll set up a station. I'm feeling a tad lazy. I'll bring the sulfuric acid over with bots. Here's our first delivery. Man, I love loaders. Now that the uranium is taken for a spin and then spun, we should be good on power for the foreseeable future. Hopefully. Now we just need to wait around for the rest of the belts to be produced, placed, and then we're all done. 4 belts of red circuits. Hopefully that'll last a while. But you know what won't last a while? This segue to the outro. I'd like to thank my supporters on Ko-fi. Their support lets me unlock new levels of caffeine-induced creativity. And that's all for today. My name's DocJade. Bye-bye.